Chris Cody, how did you feel about your Dolphin experience? You came in here today trying to make the argument that the Chargers are now a winning team, even though they're not a winning team. They're
not a losing team. They have a win against a not-losing team.
You came in here trying to argue with the country that the Dolphins have indeed now beaten a good team because of what the Chargers did last night against the Jets.
Can I ask you a question, Dan, as one of the few sane people here, which is like crazy? I feel like I was in Crazy Town this morning when everybody in the room was arguing that if the Chargers get over 500, the stat of the Dolphins haven't beat a team with a winning record no longer exists because they beat the Chargers.
I feel like we're getting bogged down on the records here. I think the narrative is
That's
more...
the whole stat.
No, the narrative, though, is bigger than the stats. The narrative is the Dolphins can't beat good teams, is the narrative.
Right.
And I think
it's accurate.
The Chargers, if they win the rest of the argument made to you.
Team,
if
right.
the Chargers win out the rest of the season, that will be a win against a good team.
But you don't revisit it and say that they've won against a team with a winning record.
Billy.
The record, you don't go back and retroactively say
you're getting bogged down in the records.
No, but Chris is right.
Is this a good team?
Yes, you do
I don't
that.
know yet.
You do that at the end of the regular season when you look back headed into the playoffs. What good teams have they beaten? If the Chargers are indeed over 500, then they've beaten a good team. I mean,
does it count if it was the first game of the season?
If I may, does it count? If I just may, because this is
literally how records work.
It's one of the dumber things I have seen conversationally. I will say to the audience something that seems obvious, which is beating good teams on the road in the NFL is difficult. They've played 3 of them, and it's Kansas City, and it's Philadelphia, and it's Buffalo.
And the Chargers, we won.
They
didn't have to go to Arrowhead.
They won the one against the Chargers. They don't get credit for that because it was week 1 and because the Chargers, until last night...
And it's Los Angeles. It was mostly Dolphin fans there anyways.
The Chargers are 4-4.
They're good enough to make it to the Super Bowl, Dan. They are.
The Chargers,
yes.
I mean, there are a lot
of
good teams in the AFC right now. The Chargers look like they're not one of them compared to the other 7 teams in the AFC that have good records. But the thing that I find funniest about this and also most interesting is this is the first generation of Dolphin fans who grew up on what that heat shit was from LeBron and fight the country on stuff. And so you finally got a football team that matters enough for the country to doubt it, and you want to fight with everybody.
Dominique just called them a pretender on Get Up.
This is where we are.
He's been a supporter of the Dolphins.
I love that.
Oh, that's so disappointing.
We lost Dominique.
He's doing a thing.
They have beaten I said yesterday, Baltimore lost to the Colts. The Dolphins have beaten the 6 teams they were supposed to beat, and lost to 3 teams that you understand how those losses happen.
The Eagles lost to the Jets.
So you're penalizing them for being 6-0 against the teams that were on the schedule, the teams that they had to play, and a lot of people are doing that and are going to continue to do that with the Dolphins because the 3 times that they have played good defenses on the road, the offense has actually been stymied. And if you can stymie the Dolphin offense, then they are pretenders. Like, if that's something that's going to keep happening, then they are frauds. But I would not do that based on what it is that I've seen. They were no less good at offense than Kansas City was. That game was decided by a lateral. That could have gone the other way for the Dolphins, and I wouldn't doubt the Chiefs either.
Yeah, but it didn't go the other way. And I know 3 games is a small sample, but they've played 3 games against teams that consider themselves to be Super Bowl contenders: Buffalo, Philly, and KC.
Chargers.
They're 0-3. No, I do not include the Chargers. I include 3 teams that they've played good.
They beat the Lions and the Steelers last year, who finished with winning records.
Yeah, last year.
So why is any of this relevant? They've beat a winning team since 2020, apparently.
Look, Mike McDaniel himself said this: if you want the narrative to change the narrative. The way you change it is to beat a good team. You're not allowed to call yourself a very good team, quote unquote, unless you beat a very good team. That's axiomatic. That's accurate throughout the NFL. You're not a very good team if you don't beat a very good team. They can be very good. Their offense can be excellent.
They're going to be 11-3 or something. Favored to be
The
11.
schedule is so easy.
Favored to be
Yes.
11-3 without having beaten a good team.
Correct.
We never we do so little factoring of the schedule. The Bengals' schedule is about to get so hard. Like they may be indeed what they've been over the last month.
Thankfully,
they seem to
they're
be.
back.
Yes.
They seem to be. But their schedule is it's rough. It's a slalom course. The Dolphin schedule.
The Dolphin schedule is easy. The Chiefs schedule is difficult. Like I would feel better saying today that the Dolphins would be the number 1 seed in the AFC than the Chiefs just based on the schedule. Seriously. Like the schedule's so easy for the Dolphins coming up.
Yeah, they're number 4 right now. And don't forget Jacksonville, which is pretty good.
Yep.
Baltimore might be the best team in the conference right now. But, yeah, Miami, they're still a Super Bowl contender. Don't get me wrong.
Did you have a homerism seizure? Did you have did it get shaky? Did your homerism get shaky this weekend?
No,
You have pivoted. You've pivoted to haven't beaten a good team.
That's what I wrote in my column.
I know. I'm just saying, though, you have been the guy.
Okay,
But that's a
here's the thing.
fact.
Here's the thing. This is why I love the NFL, is because every game is so important. Every game has the power to change the narrative and how you're looking at this season. If they go to Germany and they beat the reigning champion Chiefs, then everything changes. Then nobody's talking about how they lost those 2 other games. Everybody's talking about, all right, they just beat a really good team, which makes them a really good team.
What was the best
They didn't
unit
do
in
it.
that game? Like defense, like the offense. Let's forget special teams. Offense, defense for both teams. What was the best unit on Sunday in that game?
You could argue that the 2 defenses were better
Dolphins.
than
You
the
could argue
2
the Dolphins
offenses.
defense. I think
Can
that
I-
the Dolphins defense
Well, the
is
Chiefs
getting.
defense, I think.
Can I just make the argument on behalf of how bad this analysis is when we change the stories from game to game? They had the terrible snap on 4th and 10. But if for some reason I had made that a Tyreek Hill completion and then McDaniel goes for 2 and they win.
2 big ifs.
They're not any better, though, is what I'm saying. They're not actually any better because they made 2 plays at the end of that game, and you're like, oh, now I think they can beat good teams because they made 1 play on 4th and 10.
Okay, deal with reality. That's the reality that we deal with in the NFL every week.
But I'm
you
saying
either win or you lose.
No, but your analysis, it doesn't need to be just that. It can be something beyond you either just win or lose. It can be. It's allowed to be.
Right. It is.
The
but
team's not. You can't make the argument that they be any better actually if they made 1 play at the end of that game and then gone for 2.
That's axiomatic.